Sabre Cook has been working her entire life for the opportunity to drive fast cars on fast racetracks. Sabre's father gave her the elementary skills, but it was also the help from scholarships, a mechanical engineering education, and female entrepreneurs like Shay Holscher of Prive Hair Products sponsoring her Porsche racing career that pushed her forward. Now, let's get to business. Hey everybody, I am your host Tatiana Ryan, and I am here today with Porsche Carrera Cup North America racing driver who was just down at F1 Miami, sponsored by Prive Hair, Sabre. Am I getting that correct?
Yes.
Sabre Cook.
Yes, you did. You crushed it on the pronunciation of Porsche and Sabre. You got it.
All right, so let's start with that because your name is pronounced so many different ways, and you actually made a video about it on social media about how to pronounce your name.
Yeah, I did. It's helped at least make light of the constant awkward moments when people call me the wrong name, but it's not an easy name, so I give people grace on it.
Okay, so but you did make that whole video. You're like, my name is Sabra. This is how you pronounce it.
Yes, my fiance actually helped me make it one day, so it was a group project.
Okay, and also happy birthday.
Thank you.
What number is it?
It's actually 31.
Ah, still a young buck. Still got a
Yeah.
lot to do with your life.
Lots to do, right? 30 is the new 20 and 40
exactly
is the new 30, right?
Well, right behind you, if on your screen, is your car, the Porsche Carrera. What model?
So Porsche GT3 Cup 992.
Now, when you started as a tyke going to go-kart races and everything, how did you know that this was something you actually wanted to pursue as a career?
Well, I was super lucky to have a really cool dad. He raced motocross and supercross professionally. So I was kind of born into seeing the racetrack, more, I guess, a dirt motocross track, but it was just something I grew up around, and I was like really excited by it, really interested in it. And I rode a motorcycle before I ever drove a go-kart. And yeah, maybe that wasn't my path, and I'm glad for it now because I have a lot less broken bones. But I kind of knew that this was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. After I won my first tag world championships in the junior division in, oh gosh, that would have been 2007. Yeah, 2007. And I just remember after the weekend, it had been like ups and downs and lots of challenges. But we came through in the end. My dad was my mechanic too, so that made it really fun. I got to spend that time with him, and we ended up winning. And it was just like, wow, motorsports is great. Like it throws you down. You go through the lows, but then you come up to even higher highs. And kind of after that moment, I was pretty set.
Going into it, they don't let you just go behind the wheel of a race car like that. Obviously, you need to have some knowledge about it. And you just said your dad was your mechanic. How did you know you wanted to go into mechanical engineering also?
Well, growing up around motorsports, obviously there's a lot of science and engineering and all kinds of other things that go into motorsports as a business, just like any business. Also, like marketing and business and all that is part of motorsports as well. But I gravitated heavily to, how do things work? And it was easy growing up around karting and around the go-kart track to like, there's tons of opportunities for me to see like, oh, well, how does that go together? What does this do? And heavy equipment and machinery. And it just always interested me. And I wanted to know exactly how something worked and why it worked. So that started early on. And I was really lucky to have family and friends and teachers that fostered that curiosity. And eventually I took a mechanical engineering class in high school and really loved it. We got to create a lot of projects like ourselves in the machine shop and everything. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is it. So I ended up going to Colorado University, Colorado School of Mines for mechanical engineering. And I definitely chose the right path for me.
And your whole family was behind you with that, because a lot of times, being a girl in that industry, sometimes people will sway you away from it.
I mean, trust me, my dad, he still gives me a hard time as much as he possibly can, like a good dad will, right? He's like,
Hmm.
"Oh, don't drive like a girl." And he's like, "Oh, well, you're a woman, so, you think you're always right." Like always with the jokes. So I was kind of used to it, and growing up in motorsports, I was used to being usually the only girl as well. So going into engineering, where I actually wasn't the only one, but there was less of us, right? But I wasn't the only one, was actually an upgrade. So I was like, oh, sweet, more girls.
Now, was Papa Cook on the sidelines, F1 race, watching?
Yeah, he did come to Miami. He doesn't get to come to all of them, sadly, but he does try to come with my stepmom to as many as possible.
Oh my gosh. Now you have so many people at that track with you, your whole team and everything. But who do you look to for inspiration?
I would say growing up, I mean, I really looked up to my dad, as you can probably tell after I talk about how much great times we had when I was growing up through karting. He was definitely like a role model for me and what it looks like to work hard, what it looks like to suck it up and do it, even when you don't want to do it. And he really helped kind of shape my, I would say, mental toughness and grit as I was growing up, just sharing his own experiences and advices. But I would also say I was definitely inspired and have to give credit to Lynn St. James. She found me when I was karting, actually through another person who I looked to for inspiration. His name was Alan Rudolph, who's an amazing karter back in the day. So they definitely inspired me as well. And I would say a lot of like present day drivers that I look up to specifically would probably be Scott Dixon, just because he is consistently in that top 5% of the grid, like most of the time. It's absolutely insane how no matter what, he maybe not be at the front, but even now in his 40s, he is always still fighting up there. So I think I definitely look up to him.
Landing a spot with Porsche Racing, not only an auto brand itself, but much like it's a lifestyle brand. Like people with Porsches are,
Yes.
they have their own way of doing things. What do you want to bring to the fan base?
I think that I myself am a great example for how sometimes the younger generation doesn't understand or connect yet with the amazing story that is the Porsche brand. So now that I've been able to see more of the brand, get to know the people, and just fall in love with it, I think that is me wanting to kind of go back now and find those people that were like me that's like, yeah, I know it's a really cool, fast car, but then share the love of what makes Porsche a Porsche and why it is so special and the legacy of it. So I think that's what I really hope to kind of bring into the Porsche lifestyle brand.
You developed under scholarships, and you're also sponsored by Prive Hair Products. How important to you as a driver coming up and seeing all of these new doors open, and how imperative it is to have more female sponsors and more female backing for female drivers?
I think it's an issue that has been brought up across all sports. Every year in sports sponsorship, females only receive, I think maybe it's increased now, I think up to like 5%, whereas before it was less than 1. So it's growing, but it's still an astronomical difference. So I think having female brands invest in drivers and athletes, I mean, not just men watch racing now, in especially in IMSA, like 1 out of every 2 new of our fans is a woman. And so if you have these female focused brands that are getting into the space, you're only going to help the sports grow and the community grow, because then when female fans enter, they see that there's companies that I care about that care about me that are also supporting the things that I love. And it just think as a whole community, everything will grow. Like, right, the sponsors will grow, motorsports will grow, and obviously the drivers and the athletes, by having that support, will obviously grow and go up in their careers.
Okay, tell us about the first race last year at F1 Miami. You just clarified that though. It was 2.5 years that you've been doing the F1, right? At the
So we
Carrera at.
The Carrera Cup. So our first race of the year is at Sebring every year. So I was the first female to race in the series in 2023, would have been our first one at Sebring.
Being the only woman on that track in that competitive sport, what was it like to be out there doing that?
I honestly felt exactly the same. To be like,
really, no pressure.
It wasn't a new situation for me, right? Like, yeah, I mean, I'd been growing up being the only girl for, I don't know, at that point, like a decade. So it was something that I was accustomed to being the only girl. And I think I tried to do a really good job at building like my brand and myself up as a respected racer before I entered into the Carrera Cup series. So I felt like I had a really smooth transition. Porsche was incredibly supportive and wanted to set me up for success. So I think honestly, I was just focused on doing the best I could and finishing as high up as possible. And the rest was just, I guess, bonus publicity.
I saw a video on the Porsche website of you and another driver talking about the experience of being women in the sport. What was that like?
Yeah, no, so Margie is a total badass. She was like the first American woman to race in Le Mans, I believe is the correct. She was lovely. I had never met her until we did that filming day. So the part of the film where they actually capture me and Margie meeting for the first time, like that's legit. Like that was actually the first time that we'd interacted. They kept us separate on set until the moment, like separate makeup, separate everything, and they were like trying to like hide us away from each other. So that way when the moment happened, it was really authentic. And she was awesome. It was so cool because she hasn't been as involved in the racing industry more recently. So I think she just loved to talk about and share her passion again for motorsports. And it was incredible just to hear her story and her journey. So it was very special.
Talking with Margie, like, and that generational gap of what she went through to be in racing. Like, I think the story was she stole her parents' car or something,
and brought it back.
You know, and it was a different generation to be able to get into motorsports. You know, you've heard all the stories of like, you know, girls trying to be more like the boys and everything, and now you can be authentically yourself. What's that like?
I think it's incredibly empowering as a woman growing up in motorsports. As much as I would have liked to pretend, oh, you know, like I could totally just be myself. I definitely reflect back now, and growing up, I would, you know, hide my more feminine traits because you don't want to stand out that way. You don't want to be seen as, oh, she's too girly. She's not taking it seriously. And I think now the fact that more brands and athletes and other male drivers are embracing and being very accepting and encouraging of us being able to show our feminine side and like, hey, guess what? Yeah, I drive fast cars, but I'm also a woman and I like to make sure my hair looks nice. So it's really, really, I feel like warming to be able to now kind of step into that and feel like we can be more accepted for being our authentic selves.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of hard to hide that with Prive as your sponsor.
Yeah.
What do you do when you get on the track and you do get criticized by other drivers about being a girl and about maybe driving like a girl? What do you say to that?
I'm honestly trying to think of the last time that I've had another driver actually confront me about and criticize me for being a girl. Mm-hmm. I think it probably hasn't even happened until, not to my face anyways, right? But not to my face. I don't think it's been since I was in karting. And I think I remember it was actually in Arizona. There was a go-kart race and this one guy, he just kept crashing into me. And then he made some remarks about being a girl. And so I don't know if you condone this, parents, but I went out the next race and absolutely destroyed him. Like I did not lift. I just was like, no brakes, full gas, sent him off. And I was like, if I'm going down, you're going down with me. And that at the time, I was like 15, 16 years old. So, like, my emotional coping skills maybe weren't where they are now. But at the time, I was like, this is like a good solution. And the great thing was, they never messed with me again. So it worked, but I don't know if maybe violence isn't always the answer.
I don't know. I mean, we see it in all the other racing, NASCAR, and they're jumping out, throwing helmets at each other, and F1. Everybody hates Max Verstappen.
Yeah, but when you're going up against Max that he's coming through, so you better be prepared for whatever. It's not like he's always going to fight for every absolute inch of the track to make the pass happen. So it's about when you're racing with your competitors, you kind of always take note of who you're racing against, because you're like, oh, this person is kind of a pushover, or this person is, if I put pressure on them, they'll make a mistake. And you use that to your advantage when you're in the middle of a race as part of your racecraft. So, but yeah, hopefully now I'm a little more emotionally evolved and mature, but sometimes you just have to stand up for yourself.
Yeah, have there ever been times where you're on the track and you're like, I am going for this now?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, you have to tell yourself, like, this quarter is mine. Sometimes when you are fighting against, depending on who it is, you just have to, like, it's self-talk with any athlete. It's like super important. And sometimes you end up reminding yourself, like, nope, this corner's mine. This is mine. I've got this, with maybe some expletives in your mind. I'm not going to say those out loud, but.
Well, maybe on the radio where nobody can hear you, right?
Well, usually you say them out loud and you just wait. You don't push the radio button when you do it.
Now, let's talk more about the car itself, because Shay was telling us about, like, the seats are in there especially for you, and you just did a test drive with Prive where you took some girls on drives with you. How was that?
Oh, it was so much fun. I had never given rides to, I guess, people that have had no experience in motorsports. Like, I feel like when I've given rides before, it's usually like someone that comes and signs up and pays because they want to be given a hot lap. And I feel like these journalists, like, I'm sure some of them, we had to, like, coax them into it and be like, we promise it's going to be fun. Like, I know it sounds scary. So I think it was just, like, so much more, like, uninhibited responses from them, because it was just like they were so nervous about it and they're like, I don't know if I can do this, and then they all did it. Like, there was a couple that were like, I don't know if I'm going to do it, but they all enjoyed it. It was so much fun, and I feel like I just love watching the reaction videos back, because they had the in-car camera faced at them. And I watched it like 3 times after they sent it to us.
Now, you not only did that media day, you guys had a beauty day also with Prive.
Yes, of course. Like, it wouldn't have made sense otherwise. You got to do performance on the track and performance hair care. So it was honestly perfect, because after you get out of a race car, yes, sweaty, helmet hair. So it was really nice, actually, because they kind of spruced me up, and then I could actually go get on my plane without looking like an absolute mess. So I appreciated it very much.
What's it like being in the media now, talking to everybody, and because you're a part of the spotlight now. People want to know your story. People want to know everything that's going on in the car as you evolve as a driver. What do you want to say to people, and especially young drivers that are aspiring and say, can I actually do this?
I think that really ties into with the messaging that I have with Prive this year. Is, their focus is being, clean, pure good, but together we're trying to be an engine for good. So, be a good person, be kind, and support those that maybe don't have as much as you. And I would say our messaging too, specifically to women, is trying to inspire them to know that no matter what it is, if you really want something and you're willing to work hard for it and build a great team around you, and put in that grit, that hard work, and build that mental toughness, there's nothing that you can't achieve. And I think it's just really hitting home more this year, the fact that Shay and I with Prive that we're conveying this message together. And I really hope that it's reaching a lot of people out there and inspiring not just women, but kind of everyone along the way.
Yeah, Shay does a lot of giving back with not only her products and with inspiring drivers just like you and doing all of that. What's coming up for you, Prive and Porsche Carrera?
Next up, we have the Montreal GP race alongside Formula One. So it was a very wet race last year, so I'm expecting more of the same. So that's coming up in the second weekend of June. And then we actually have a back-to-back race weekend. So right after that will be Watkins Glen. And Shay will be there cheering me on. She's not coming to Montreal, but she will be at Watkins Glen. And she really is like one of my biggest cheerleaders. She is so amazing. And I feel like I probably don't tell her enough how much it means to me that she constantly is like, telling me like, you've got this, you can do this, you're so great. Like, it really is like such it makes a big difference, when you're going through the stresses of being an athlete, being a business owner, and having someone that's there, like who's been through similar stressful situations, and she's cheering you on and telling you can do it. So I'm really excited to see her again.
What a lot of people don't understand, and you just brought up a great point, is that you're not only a driver, you're a business person. You are your own brand.
Yeah, it's not always I guess transparent of how the world of motorsport works, but basically most drivers in the world, except for the select few, we all have to bring funding and sponsorships to the team. And I operate basically like a small business. And so every year I have to make sure I raise enough. It's kind of like, I don't know, venture capital in some ways. Like you have to raise a certain amount of funds to have the business run. So every year it's, you do your fundraising and you raise enough budget to go racing, and then you repeat it again the next year. So it's really opened my eyes a lot to how the world of business works. I might end up going and getting my MBA, possibly. We'll see. But I have learned a lot. And maybe I should have gotten a business minor alongside my engineering degree sometimes. But Shay has been actually a really great mentor for me as well, as far as business goes, because she has such that savvy background and experience in business. So that has been absolute paramount for me, honestly, when I've been encountered with some difficult business situations and I don't know how to handle them myself. She's been a really great resource to ask for advice.
Okay, you just did F1 Miami track. Now you just said you're going on to Montreal. Been there. That's a cool, fun race. And it was also raining when I was there. But
yeah, I don't not rains.
Going to these pinnacle places, what does that feel like being on those tracks?
I would say it feels almost surreal at first when you go on some of the tracks that you've watched your idols race on. I think the first time I went on to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 2017, I just remember being like, oh my gosh, this is just taking it all in. And the same for when I raced at Spa for the first time, and other tracks similar to those, and Laguna Seca, and I was just like, this is incredible to be here. It just feels larger than life, right? Like you're always wondering, like, is it going to live up to my expectations? And it's always so much cooler in real life. So I feel very fortunate.
Now you said you weren't thrilled about your finish at Miami. What do you do to prep for the next race when you're not feeling your place that you finished?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to. We finished just outside the top 10. We struggled in qualifying. It was a little tricky because it was partially damp. And yeah, it was just a tricky weekend. But for Montreal, and kind of before every race, what we do is I'll do a lot of different drills and simulations on the racing simulator. So doing qualifying drills, consistency drills, racing drills. And then I'll also, we train physically 6 days a week. I train at Pit Fit Training that's headquartered in Indianapolis. So I'll usually go there in the morning. And then like this morning, I had a session online with iZone and then an hour with my team. After that, my engineer, who actually drives a bit, so it's kind of fun because he'll get and drive on the simulator with us. And then we'll also have, we actually have a test for Watkins Glen, not Montreal, because you don't really get to test there. But for Watkins Glen, we actually have a test coming up next week. So when I say test, that means basically we go and we practice and we test a bunch of different setups and elements on the car to then find like the optimized setup that we want to start with during a race weekend. And other than that, we just make sure that we, as on the business side, obviously making sure all the partners are happy, make sure all the deliverables are being met for all my sponsors, make sure the media is set up and all of our guest packets and guest information has been sent out to everyone that's going to be attending the race with us. And yeah, that's usually like a quick overview of what we do in between races.
Well, I'm trying to make it up to Watkins Glen to watch.
Yes, you should. It's a great track.
Well, you just brought up a really good point, is media. Now there's this animal of social media and fans that can interact with you and some of the things that are said online. Because I know you have your X account and Instagram and all of that. What do you do with people that are quite negative?
It depends on the situation, but often I choose not to respond because I feel like when people comment rude or disparaging things, it's usually because they're unhappy in their own lives and they have nothing better to do. So usually I try to just ignore it because it's usually not worth the time and the energy. But worst case, you can delete the comments, or sometimes you just respond to them in a very factual way and hope them. And I love my best thing is when you respond with a fact and you say, hope you have a better day, because they're like, oh, maybe I am being a bit of a jerk. So it depends on the situation, but usually I try to take it from more of a black and white, like try to take the emotion out of it and just see it as kind of a person that is clearly not happy in their own lives.
Would you suggest that to the younger audience that is so engulfed in online activities?
Yes, I would say definitely take a breath anytime you see something online that gives you an emotional reaction, because it's easy to make a choice or say something or do something in the moment that you will regret later. So I think definitely taking time to think through of how you want to respond to a situation and asking for advice from elders and mentors and seeing what they recommend on how to appropriately respond to a difficult situation.
Sabre, where can everyone follow you on social media?
So you can follow me pretty much all the platforms is just my name, Sabre Cook, SabreCook. If you can't figure it out, though, there's a nice feature on my website that's sabrecookracing.com, and you can go to the top and click and find any of the social channels from those links.
Girl, I thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm so inspired by you. You are such a cool person that is going on her and just chasing her dreams. It's such a wonderful day to just sit down and talk to you.
Because thank you so much. I appreciate having me. And Shay said she loved speaking with you as well. So I was so excited to get to talk to you. And thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Well, I think it's been very eye-opening too about the business aspect of it, of how, you're not just being pushed into this. You have to go out and chase a lot too.
Yes, there is a lot of work behind the scenes to be able to get to do the fun stuff in the race car. Like the majority of your time is spent doing the hard things.
Well, I'm going to let you go. Have a happy birthday today.
Thank you.
Again, thank you so much for taking the time to come and sit down and talk to us and tell us so much about what you do on a daily basis.
Well, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
My name is Tatiana Ryan. This is the Business Podcast, and thank you so much again, Sabre Cook.